You're watching PEGRI TV, Rhode Island's public access channel.
Welcome everybody to the Four Corners, brought to you by the Official Wrestling Museum. We are your hosts. I am Angel, and I'm joined by Official Wrestling Museum Hall of Famer.
Low life.
And speaking about Hall of Famers, we had the honor to induct not one, not two, but three brand new Hall of Famers into the Official Wrestling Museum's Hall of Fame. Special honor to be able to do Sonny Onoo, which was a huge star in WCW. Managed
Mr.
one
Sonny
of the
Onoo.
great, Yep.
The man who might have invented the selfie.
Yeah.
My hand was off camera for that one.
It was.
But, I mean, yeah, and then John Reckner, who most people, or everybody would know as Balls Mahoney, who you did not want to take a chair shot from.
Absolutely not. And Gangrel, which it was really cool to be able to induct him into the Hall of Fame. So thank you guys very much. If you go to the officialwrestlingmuseum.com, click on the Hall of Fame links, you can see those three pictures, his picture, and all the other Hall of Famers in the Official Wrestling Museum's Hall of Fame. And to honor them even more, if you scan that QR code to help us make a National Pro Wrestling Day, we already have one here in the state of Rhode Island on June 13th, but if you scan it and we can get them to make a National Day with your petition signature, totally free to do, and it takes about 10 seconds, it can really help out a great cause. Now today,
We're talking about people that we would not want to see in the Hall of Fame, basically.
yeah, people we want to see less of
Yeah.
on camera. And it may not just be because we didn't like them in particular or their character, or it could just be for whatever reason we felt we wanted to see less of them
Yeah.
for whatever reason we may have.
Last week it was who we wanted to see more of.
Yeah.
This week, who we wanted to see less of. And like you said, could be their character. It could be I didn't like the way they worked. Could just be I didn't like the way they looked.
Yep.
You,
I'm going to let you go first.
all right. Mine is all of the above. I
All
cannot stand.
the above.
Yeah, well, I could not stand the way he looked, the way he worked. The only thing he had was a good theme song. Kurgan. I hated Kurgan. I just did not like him at all. He just never, he was billed as like a giant, but he didn't fully look like a giant. He just had that long neck. He couldn't speak for anything. He could not work. I couldn't stand him. So I don't even want to talk about him. At WrestleMania 14, me and Stryker had went to WrestleMania 14. We each made two signs. Well, one sign, but both sides.
Yep.
One of mine was if I was Kurgan, I would shoot myself.
Poor guy. No, I see what you said, though. You know, I mean, they really brought him in, and he should have been this next big thing. And I think at that time they were really showing with Kane, they were showing with Taker, they were showing with Big Show, these big, tall guys, and I think they were trying not to group him with
Well,
them.
he never even got like a run with any of the top guys.
He didn't. And I think
They didn't
they
even see the
failed him.
value of putting like Austin over on him or any top guy. They didn't even put them over on him. So that shows you. I know he went and did some stuff in Japan with Giant Silva. He's done some movie stuff. Good for him. You know, in the movie stuff, like he definitely has that look where he could play a monsterish guy with his neck. I mean,
Yep.
the guy his neck was just insane. But yeah, I didn't care for Kurgan at all.
So my first pick is probably going to be a little controversial, but Tony D from NXT.
Tony D.
Yeah.
You want to see less of him?
I want to see less of him in the sense that we touched upon this a little bit on the hot tag. One of the questions came in. I don't want to see him go to the main roster. I don't think his character will get over. I don't think he has the look for the character to really. If you think of some of the great mobster characters back in the day, he just doesn't have it. You know, we have a Fisher Wrestling Museum Hall of Famer, Big Vito, you know, going out looking like the dean, like the Don of it all. He would be perfect to bring in to NXT to mentor that group and to get that group to the next level, because I don't see that mobster, that type of character they're trying to get out of. And I think if he goes over more and gets picked up, I think he's just going to become an enhancement guy that's going to get released.
I do think that he is more of a character that is suited for the smaller NXT crowd. I said in the Hot Tag Show that I wonder, like for me, maybe the disconnect is that if he's the boss and Stax is under him, they were a tag team together. Yeah. I know in the beginning they had another guy with Stax. I think it was Dimes or something like that, 2 Dimes or something. I can't remember his name. That would have been the tag team under him. So maybe that changed things.
Right.
But I do think he needs to be a singles guy and have like a group under him. The problem with groups in WWF is there always seems to be 4 people.
Yeah.
And never any
They
more.
need something a little bit bigger.
And he does have his group, and I do think that he's going to go up, and maybe Stax will go up with him, and then the other 2, I said I think that they should stay down. And they kind of do a thing like, I need you to be my eyes and ears.
And that would be cool if they did something like that. But I think even if he was like a punk kid that, you know, wanted to start his own family, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he looked the way he
they
looked and
do
stuff.
sometimes rebuild guys when they bring them up to the roster.
Right.
They start them over. So, I mean,
And they could.
maybe he could do that.
And
I don't know.
in all honesty, where his level of mobster type of character isn't really up there compared to other ones. They could rebrand him into something totally different. And I'm not saying his character, his work is bad, or the character work that he puts into the character is bad. I'm saying the leadership into him, the way he's looking, the way they're portraying him, is not coming across the way they're hoping it comes across. So I wouldn't want somebody that they're investing in to just go sour because of stupidity.
So we're talking about things we want to see less of.
Yep.
I don't know if I can do this, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Oh boy.
I'm going to do it anyway. The entire women's division, when they had the Divas title, from the time they had it to the time it ended, when I would watch Raw and record it, because I would record it every week. When I would watch, because I'm a hoarder, so when I watch Raw, I would just not even record the women's part, because it was never, and the matches were never worth watching, because they weren't great wrestlers.
See,
There were some exceptions in there, but I can't sit there and go, every single one but this person. I'm going to throw the whole women's division
I'll have to
from
disagree
beginning to
with
end of the
that.
Divas title.
And that's your pick, so that's what makes this show great. I'll have to disagree because I think the Divas...
You'd have to tell me some good ones, because I can't remember.
Well, you had AJ Lee.
Okay. See, so there are a couple. I said there are some exceptions.
And there was a bunch of other ones that were good, too. I think the Divas division for the Divas title was so good because it broke up that stigma that females were just supposed to be there for the image and their wrestling abilities. It was blending them all together. They put out a title belt that was literally to kind of mock it. And then they were able to break off women wrestling off of that.
I've heard a lot
I
of
think
people
without that, I don't think we would have had women's wrestling to where it is today.
I didn't mind. So for me, I'm not them. I know that they say the term was disrespectful and stuff. Okay, so the term, to me, was fine. It was a marketable term. Sorry. It was a marketable term, just like TNA Knockouts. They still call them the Knockouts.
Yeah.
When they called them the WWE Divas, remember, right around the time they did that, they actually, I think the Divas concerts on VH1 had just started where they were doing that. Like, now they do like the country crossover things, CMT Crossroads or something. But at the time, they were doing VH1 Divas, and it would be a concert with women, all just the women. And WWE saw that. Why am I calling them WWE now? Anyway, WWE saw that.
the Panda
And
Company
they jumped
got
on the
after you.
name. It was much like Paul Heyman with Extreme Championship Wrestling.
Yeah.
He saw the word was going to be a hot word, and he jumped on it. So the Divas thing I thought was smart branding. I don't have a problem with the title. I just have a problem with just it wasn't worth watching to me. So that's what I
Okay.
feel about that.
So my next pick is disrespect towards their booking crew, their agents. I think if these guys are good enough, and I'm talking about guys that are like Arn Anderson, okay? And yes, I know somebody's going to turn around and say, oh, yeah, well, he's in the Hall of Fame because of the horse. That doesn't mean that you're in the Hall of Fame. I'm a soul.
Are you picking on Anderson?
No. I'm saying guys like, Abyss now, even though he never worked for WWE, but Abyss. You had Hurricane, Jamie Noble.
You're picking Hurricane?
Listen.
I can't believe you're picking. No, I can't believe you. So I know I get where you're going, but
that
you
these
with
guys,
Hurricane.
These guys are able to write for your company, able to produce your matches, and you don't have them in the Hall of Fame. That's what I want to see less of. The disrespect towards their
Okay, I thought
writers.
you were picking the actual people.
No.
Because I was going to say, Greg Gagne once said, hey, one of your big problems is you don't have anyone on top teaching these kids. And that's where I thought you were going. But I see what you're saying. They have these guys there, but they're not acknowledging.
They're not acknowledging. So if they're good enough
As a company, they're not
run,
acknowledging.
exactly. If they're good enough to run your brand and make you all this money, they should be able to be in the Hall of Fame.
So how are you going to see less of that? What do you mean? Like, who's
So
the
to
person
see-
you blame for that? Triple H?
Hunter and everybody else that's a part of that.
This is interesting because, like, my next pick, it's like we're not. I mean, we did pick single people at first.
Yeah.
And I do have another single person.
You picked a whole generation.
Well, I'm picking. This time, I'm picking more of a role.
Oh, okay.
Not authority figures in general, but just that overbearing heel authority. Once Vince McMahon did it, it couldn't be done better. Bischoff was okay, and then Vince Russo did it.
Oh, it's
like
more deep.
Vince Russo was the one that killed it. He killed that, and then they, like the way Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis do it now. This is why I can't just say authority figure, because with Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce, I love.
I think they're
roles.
doing great.
They're not heels. They're faces, but they also will do things for the heels. I love their dynamic.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not going to be authority figure. Just that overbearing heel authority. McMahon needed to be that for the Stone Cold character. Bischoff, to be honest, I thought when Bischoff did it, he immediately took Ted DiBiase's character and got rid of it because Ted DiBiase was supposed to be the money man behind NWO. But then once you had Bischoff, okay, well, what did you need DiBiase for? So they haven't done it in a while. I feel like, I don't watch AW much, but I know they're doing the thing with the Young Bucks and stuff. But that's what I want to say is like just that overbearing heel. Vince Russo really killed that. He put the bullet in the head of that character.
Yeah.
That role.
For me, my next pick, let me touch on what you said, though. I do agree with that. I think certain things, when they're done in anything across any sport, any profession, once something is that great, don't touch it. Because you only look like you're a failure every time you try to do it. And I'm not saying never try to reach your goals or anything like that. But like you said, Vince was that ultimate boss. You're never going to have somebody to that point. Mm-hmm. Even if Hunter was to turn around and play that role, you're just trying to better Vince. And it's not going to be. So I agree. That was good. I'm going to say 101 title belts. Okay? I will love to see less belts.
Well, be prepared because more are coming.
Yeah. I think there's just way too many title belts. I think it makes it hard for the fans to understand who's the champion, what the title even means, what order the title goes in the bracket states of, order of where people are on the card and, how they get to the top belt. You have too many people jumping lines and who's taking on the top champion that hasn't even gone for the middle championship, who hasn't gone for the second title, who hasn't gone for the 15th title. And I think it's just way too many. Nothing against SummerSlam, and we got to talk about it on Off the Ropes, a nice recap we did. But SummerSlam, the whole show was all title matches except for one. You know what I mean? And 2 title matches had to be done on SmackDown because they had that many titles. Now, I know they're going to go to 2 nights and they'll be able to help and this, that, and whatever. But look at AEW. Tons and tons and tons of titles.
And they have their ROH belts.
Yeah, and
mixed
it's
in,
like
too.
you can't keep up with any of their storylines, what title means what, and it's just, to me, it's not, you can't even say AEW does it for marketing purposes.
No.
Because they don't sell belts like that.
No, and
You know what I mean?
They
It's
don't
just-
sell the toy belts even.
Yeah,
like,
so
WWF,
it's
at
just-
least you know they're selling belts.
Yeah, you know, if somebody wins a title belt right now, if I pinned you for a brand new WWE title belt right now, that second that bell rings, go on WWE shop and that belt's up
Well,
for
just
sale.
like I know it's not.
You know what I
know
mean?
it's not a belt, but like Tiffany's Money in the Bank
Yeah.
briefcase, the new one that just came out on SummerSlam, it's already on sale.
They literally had the commercial
Yeah.
right after they showed
They
it.
had Roman Reigns when he
Yep.
came back. They have a special WWE Roman. I mean, belts are money. People are belt marks. They'll buy them. I mean, these things are $100, $300, $400, $500 a pop. Yeah, there's some belts that I'd love to buy, but what am I going to do with it?
Yeah.
I'm not going to spend money on it. So belts is big business, and that's not only when they have all these belts. That's what the thing is. It's like, okay, you have so many belts. I almost said a bad word there. It's funny because it always comes up with the belts.
Yep.
Because it is a thing that bothers me. So you know it's making the last thing.
Uh-oh.
Anyway,
Here we go.
but those belts also come with figures.
Yeah.
They sell the toys. They sell the real belts. You know, they're on T-shirts. Yeah, it gets to the point where you almost say like, well, this guy, the guys that you like better are the ones that he doesn't need a belt. He doesn't need a belt.
Yeah.
You know, the belt becomes such a watered down thing. You know, like I found it refreshing that the Punk Drew match was not for a title.
Exactly. I did too, and I think that was very well done. We talked about that.
I actually thought it should have. You couldn't because of what happened.
Right.
But if what didn't happen at the end wasn't going to happen, I honestly thought that should have probably been the main event because it wasn't for the belt and everyone else was. But you couldn't.
But it gave that vibe
Yeah.
because it was that special thing because it didn't have the belt.
So I mean I have a few honorable mentions I could say.
Yeah.
But like the Harris brothers, I was so tired of seeing those guys. Jeff Jarrett at a time was like, oh God. You know, like they used to say that X-Pac heat, which I never
Yeah.
liked because X-Pac was fine for me. But
Yeah.
Jeff Jarrett was a guy who, when he was on top in TNA, it's like so much. But I'm going to say a guy that I don't know if people are going to agree or not, Eric Young.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't stand
Wow.
him in TNA. More so TNA than WWE. I know, or his NXT run. I thought his NXT run was okay. It was short. I just didn't get him. I know he was in the Team Canada first. Then he got fired from Team Canada and he was doing the comedy gimmick. And then all of a sudden he's like the world champion. He's a top guy. And I just didn't understand Eric Young. I'm not saying he's not good at what he does, so don't get this wrong. This is my own personal, I just wasn't into him. Fantastic worker. I mean, nice pile driver. For me personally, he wasn't my taste. I just didn't care for him.
I'm very surprised you said him.
He was comedy, then he was immediately top heel.
See, for me, I was always a fan of him because you could see him grow throughout the way.
I do like
To
that you
me,
could
he
see him
kind of
grow,
reminded
but
me
just-
of like, not the same character, but of a Miz. How he constantly grew and evolved and had different stages to himself.
I'd say he's
You know what I
comparable
mean?
to Miz, yeah.
And he can easily portray any character out there. Great worker in the ring.
Yeah.
I'm very surprised you picked him.
Maybe it's just because I feel, it might not even be Eric Young's fault. Maybe it's just TNA's. Like I said, it was just in TNA. It might just be TNA's fault that I felt like they shoved him down my throat.
It's very interesting.
Made me want to see him less. Or not at all.
So I had a good one. And when you said Eric Young, that went right out of my head because I was so surprised you said him. Harris Brothers, I wouldn't say I didn't want to see them anymore. I just feel like they dropped the ball with them and they didn't know how to book them.
Once they were like in NWO, silver and black, and they were hitting everyone with the H bomb. Like, come on! I'm tired of seeing these guys out here. So, if we could pick, while you think for a minute,
Yep.
things we want to see less of. If I could say things I want to see less of, I want to add these 3 things because I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. Every show, especially SummerSlam, almost every match, a guy runs and rams his shoulder into the post. I want to see less of that. I want to see less of the guys running around the ring and hitting them with a spear or a clothesline. Braun Strowman does it, and then Braun Breaker does it. When Braun Breaker does it, it looks like he runs through the guy. I want to see that. I don't want to see Braun Strowman now do it, and he looks like a cripple, and he looks like garbage doing it. So stop having everyone do that. Ludwig Kaiser does it too. I don't mind him doing it because what he does is effective. But I don't need to see 7 other people do it. So that's 2 things, two honorable mentions.
Yeah.
And the third is the announce table. I don't want to see
The announce
guys
table get broken.
Not even to get broken every show. I'm tired of every match. The guy's getting thrown over it every match. It's like, what? Every match you do this.
Yeah.
So now when this guy puts this guy through the table, I don't care because 4 other people have been over the table. So those are 3 things I want to see less of.
I agree with everything that you said. I think some honorable mentions would be I'm tired of seeing super kicks. Or I'm tired of seeing like
now we're getting into our pet peeves, but that's a definite. Super kicks, Canadian destroyers for
one
one
thing
count.
like on SummerSlam, how many power bombs, sit down power bombs did you see on that show? We were taught in wrestling, you paid attention to the matches. So you plan your match, and like if we were working each other, we would think and what we were going to do to each other, blah, 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 all that stuff. But then if the match out there already had a sit-down power bomb, well, you're not going to repeat it. And
that's
if you
going to
knew
get me into
the main event had, let's say, Fisher Wrestling Museum Hall of Famer Balls Mahoney was on the show, and he always cracked people over the head with a chair. Well, I'm not going to take a chair to smack him over the head because the main event's probably going to have a chair shot in it.
I have stuff to say about last night, but I'll save that for the off the rope show.
Ropes. Yeah,
but what's your fourth?
So
though?
my fourth one is advertisement. That is
really?
I want to see so much less of that. Like,
I have a feeling that
you're going to see so much more,
right?
Because it's so money marketing, and that's what it looks like, and it's sickening at this point. And I get it's business, I get everything grows, but you're over there and you're doing these matches. You have the big prime symbol in the middle. You have the other guys in the corner now. The turnbuckles.
You know what? To be honest, I didn't even notice the corners.
Oh, I noticed
until halfway through the show.
Yeah,
it doesn't bother me as much. I think that mat is, as you notice, it was started with prime. Now you get the corners, and now you also have the aprons.
You're going to see it.
It's going to be like the
Ruckus
UFC
already
mat.
saying that they almost broke their ankle multiple times.
Slipping on it?
On that.
What about this? What about this? What if they go like the NASCAR route and these guys start wearing on their gear like
give them
Wonder
chance.
Bread logo?
You know what? I guarantee if that happens, it's not somebody down in Florida. It's this guy right here coming up with that idea, folks. Okay? Because that will be coming soon. I think the other day for SummerSlam, they had, I think it was Damian Priest's title match. And I think it was Damian Priest. It was a title match. And they had Straight Talk as the sponsor.
Yeah. Well, they did the thing with Cody was Wheatley.
Right. And I get that. It's, you know what I mean? But you have right here, everywhere it's Straight Talk, Straight Talk, Straight Talk. All this, that, whatever.
Right.
Did not fit
We're
the
running
match.
out of time. We got to go.
Well, it didn't fit
I
the
agree
match.
with you that
and if you're going to promote anybody, why not Cricket Wireless?
the advertisements don't bother me as much.
It bothers me.
Not the ones like on the ring and the guardrail.
I'm glad they got rid of the ones
that
on
bother
the floor. Remember they were doing the ones on the floor?
Yeah.
Those are.
Well, the ones that bother me are the ones that, in between every match, I have to watch 8 minutes of commercials on a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
That's really
changed
changed over the years. The pay-per-view was always
pay-per-view was good.
Boom. All right, so
All right, let's go with our 4.
I'm gonna go with you. What was the one?
So you have
Title belts is on there.
title belts. All right, I like.
What was your
that.
second?
Less belts.
Oh,
So
the disrespect level.
the disrespect to the agents. Tony D adds. You had the big guy, the whole women's division. I don't know if we can go with that one. Very over for like the bosses.
I'll go with the advertisements too, in the sense of they said like SummerSlam was like 2 hours of advertisements in between matches. If I'm there live, at least on TV at home, I can get up and go to the bathroom. I can go do this. I can go do that.
Right.
If I'm there live, it's like I'm not going to.
And we talked about that on Off the Ropes this week, and things they could have did even for the crowd, and they didn't do it.
So we got less
I
title
would
belts.
say the Kurgan guy. You know what? I would go with him because I think they really dropped the ball on him.
I don't think they dropped the ball on him. I don't think they should have picked it up.
No, I think they could have did something.
I saw nothing in him ever.
He wasn't bad in oddities.
I didn't like the oddities though either. So
You know, another honorable mention that I was thinking of saying, but I took him out of the list was ICP.
in wrestling,
Because it
I
looked,
don't think they were the worst thing. I
to
think
me,
they
it
were
looked
something.
like it was Yard Todd's getting a shot,
Yeah.
and they shouldn't be there. But then if you talk about that, Mean Street Posse would have fit that too. But anywho,
I think ICP at the time
Well, not
it was
so much
cool
Yard
for
Tots
what they
for them,
were.
but-
I'm not an ICP fan at all. I
Yeah.
couldn't name more than like
the
two
Juggalos
songs.
and all that stuff, they're all has-beens.
What's the fourth one now? Because I don't know who to pick.
I don't know.
For me, I don't think Tony D, and you don't think the
I don't-
women's division.
Yeah, and I don't think Eric Young fits that.
And
I don't.
who was your?
You also have the bosses being over, and
How about
then
that? How about the authority? Just that heel authority where everything
the
is.
heel authority? Yeah.
That worked at its time. I don't think now's the time for that anymore. I think, like I said, I really think
Yeah, I don't
the
think it'll
vibe that
fit.
Adam Pearce and
Are really good.
Nick Aldis give off are really
Yeah.
great. And I think maybe the time for that heel authority figure is past.
So our four corners, less title belts, the ads, less ads, Kurgan, and the boss being way over. There's no more times of that. That's our final four.
Advertisements, for me, like I said, though, advertisements to a point. I
Yeah, I
don't
think
mind
it's
the
just
in-ring
too
stuff.
much.
I don't even notice it on the mat at first, but yeah, I'll go with advertisements. Like I said, I don't want to sit there in between matches for 19 minutes.
Right. So that's our four. Tell us if you liked our picks and if you would have did a different four corners or who you would have picked. Let us know. Send them in and we'll read them on upcoming episodes. We thank you guys very much for tuning in. Make sure you tune in to Off the Ropes this week as we recap Survivor Series, SummerSlam, this year. Free per-view. Make sure you check it out because
See, SummerSlam got you ready for Survivor
I'm
Series.
ready to go. It really did. Figures Are Us, we talk about some of the new stuff that we got in our collections in the museum as well. Hot tags, we answer some great questions. So scan that QR code, help us make that National Pro Wrestling Day. Again, it's totally free to do. And congratulations to our new Hall of Famers for the official Wrestling Museum. And you know what they say.
Come back next week and find out what goes in the corner.
See you guys next week, folks.